to 137. Of course, there's this tiebreaker of the independent.
Right, Evans. The last time there was a critical business in Parliament having to do with the three taxes, the only reason why the minority were not able to reject those taxes as they had said was because they did not have the numbers. The NPP side had 137 because the Kumewu MP at the time was not available. But if James Dachikwesi was also available for the minority, then they were going to be able to reject that, and they did not succeed in doing so because Dachikwesi was not available. Once Dachikwesi is sworn in, it restores parity in the House, 137 apiece on both sides, representing the NPP and the NDC side, but the majority having a one member advantage because of the independent MP for Famina who has decided that he will caucus with the majority. The minority leader has been saying all along that they are desperate for Dachikwesi to return. It increases their bargaining power in the House, and it also allows them to be able to, quote and unquote, frustrate government business or be able to reject some of the things that government is bringing in. Already, when Parliament signaled that it was coming back from its Easter break, there was this announcement from the majority chief whip that he expected some tax bills to come through again. The minority had already insisted that that will not be countenanced in the House. But they will not be able to succeed if they don't have Dachikwesi. And so they are very much looking forward to Dachikwesi swearing in, which will restore parity in the House, which will mean that the majority will need, at all point in time when decisions have to be taken, they will need all their MPs on the floor, including Sarah Adjwasafo, who's been coming in every now and then, but not as consistent as you would expect. But she's been coming in, unlike the previous time where she went away for close to a year. So that is the dynamics in the House. And once Dachikwesi comes in, Oseche and Sabonsu and Frank Anodom, their work is clearly cut out for them. They will have to bring on the floor of the Parliament all 137 plus that independent MP whenever there is any crucial government business to be decided on.
Okay, and thank you very much, Kweku. I want to bring in right now Sami Jamfi, who is the NDC National Communications Officer. You may have seen him. He never left the side of James Dachikwesi in the Assin-North by-election in that constituency. He joins us on the telephone line right now. Also joining us is his counterpart in the NPP, is the National Communications Director of the NPP as well, Richard Ahagba. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Ivan.
So, let me start with you. And I guess congratulations are in order. First time we are talking since the victory that you chalked. And I'm curious, is this your first national elections victory, not involving yourself, since you ascended to the position of National Communications Officer?
Evans, we went into the 2020 elections as a party. At the time, I was a National Communications Officer. And with all the electoral manipulations of the Electoral Commission and the then ruling NPP, we won 137 seats. So it will not be correct to say that this is the first national election that the party has gone into.
What I mean is, I was just talking about the victory, considering, what you saw on Tuesday. But how does it feel being the man? We saw you on television almost everywhere you went with him.
Well, I was excited at the end of the day that the hard work we put in paid off. I was excited that the good people of Assin-North rose above the inducements from the ruling NPP, their shenanigans, their lies, character assassination, and so on and so forth, and decided to stand by the truth, stand for justice, and to vote for Honorable James Dachikwesi and demonstrate to the whole world that he is one of their own. They have absolute confidence in his leadership, and they trust that he can give them the representation they need in the August House of Parliament. So, if you ask me how do I feel great that all the sacrifices, all the hard work we put in paid off at the end of the day.
So it paid off. And have you rested this off yet, or you are still basking in the glow of
we are still in there. working at the swearing in of the newly re-elected member of parliament for Asenov, and also then working on some victory rallies that have to be organized this weekend. And more importantly, Thanksgiving service to thank God for this victory, and also some visitations to those who unfortunately got injured in the process of the campaigning, either through a vehicular accident or unwarranted physical attacks on themselves by hoodlums belonging to the New Patriotic Party. So the work has not come to an end yet. We are not resting, but I believe that by next week, Tuesday, everything will be over, at least for this phase of the by-election. But the real work is recapturing power in 2024, which for me is what this victory signifies. Because this assent of by-election was not just a mere election for a member of parliament. It was more or less a midterm election, more or less a referendum on the performance of the corrupt, nepotistic, wasteful, and reckless Akufo-Addo Bawumia government. And if what the people of Asenov have decided is anything to go by, then what that shows is that Ghanaians are tired of the wastage, they are tired of the abuse of the public purse, they are tired of the hardships and the economic collapse we are witnessing under the failed MPP Akufo-Addo Bawumia government. And that change is coming, and change will arrive come 7th December 2024.
Richard Ehagba, you agree with the conclusions reached by Sammy Gyamfi on the back of that victory?
Thank you, Evans. Well, we need to put in perspective what just happened in Ascent North. Sammy's conclusion is his conclusion because he feels it helps their cause. But what happened in Ascent North is no news, especially because it was the NDC seats to lose anyway to begin with, just as much as it was our seats to lose in Kumawu to begin with. So if the NDC succeeded in retaining their seat, there is nothing novel about it. But then if we had won it, then you will have some indication of the future from that. And so really, the conclusions that is reaching for me is convenient. I suppose if I were in his stead, I would do the same thing. But there's nothing extraordinarily groundbreaking about retaining your seat, which you should have or you are supposed to do to start with. But somebody went on a little run there to talk about lies and government inducement or party inducement. You see, those things are just not true. In a sense that, Evans, if you came to Ascent North, I am worried where we are about the future of our elections, where that you have a political party on the back of blatant lies. And I want somebody to tell us what some of the lies that he thinks that the NPP was peddling. But I can tell you 2 grand lies, or perhaps 3, or even 4 grand lies that the NDC was peddled, and that was their central campaign message. The essential proposition to the people was that, one, that they want them to vote for the NDC's Mr. Jetty because government wants to remove him from parliament so we can have way to pass LGBTQ or to legalize LGBTQ in Ghana. Blatant falsehood, but that was their message. Number 2, that this government or this MPP party was persecuting Jetty for no wrong done.
Are you not
blatant falsehood?
Are you not persecuting him? And there are many who believe that. And if you speak to the constituents who talk to us in the day, many of them hold that view too.
Yes, Evans. But that's just because the NDC fed them that lie. It's not true. And it's not true, Evans. Even if people believe it, it's not true. Because why? The man breached the law. And if he breached the law and he went to court to try to prove that he didn't, but the court found that to be not tenable, that they believe the Supreme Court's view of the situation suggests that you have breached the law. Now, at what point is that MPP? Is the MPP on the Supreme Court? So that's a blatant falsehood. Whether you agree with it or not, you cannot say for a fact that it was the MPP who is persecuting him. And in any case, that he has done no wrong. So if he had gotten his papers in order, and you know about the case with the Jomo MP, what was the outcome of that? I think it's Dorcas Toffee, right? She went to court, was able to show evidence, and she won the case. Why is that not a persecution also? So it was a blatant lie that the NDC went to Kumawu to feed the people. And I think it's disrespectful to the people, but that's what they said. And they did so because they felt that that was the only message they had. And truly, that was the only proposition they had for the people. And the other lie they were telling was to foist on our candidate that he is a garantia, which is blatant falsehood.
They won the election.
Evans, can I come in?
Yes, I mean, you will.
Evans, let me just conclude for you.
Just a second.
The point I was trying to make to you is that, yes,
the NDC won the election.
Had retained their seat.
Yes.
Are you with me?
I'm with you. The NDC won that election. Are you suggesting that they deceived the voters?
But I just told you that their central message, and if you think that is true, then that will be your conclusion. But
if you suggest
that the New Patriotic Party want to legalize LGBTQ, that's why they want this equation out of Parliament. It's blatant falsehood.
Okay, stay with me, Sammy. Was that a strategy? Is that how you spin the message there on the ground?
Him out of Parliament for no wrong done. That's a blatant falsehood. We know
Richard, stay with me. Let me hear from Sammy.
Yeah, there are two things.
But you didn't let me conclude, Evans. I just want to remind you so can go to him.
Just a second.
So the point I was making to you is that this central message that I've given you, and you confirm that people repeated that to you somehow because they believe it, the NDC told them, is evidence of the fact that the NDC really did share that message. And those
Richard,
are false.
Stay with me. Let me hear from Sammy.
Yeah. Okay. The first comment Richard made is very intriguing. Richard says that the sin of parliamentary seats was the NDC's to lose. In other words, I never knew that a sin of is a stronghold of the NDC. But I'm happy to accept that if the MPP now wants the whole world to believe that Asenov is a stronghold of the NDC, just as Kumawu is the stronghold of the MPP, then I will say hallelujah to that. But every student of politics in Ghana who has followed election outcomes since the Asenov constituency was created in 2012 will know that what Richard is saying is a convenient lie, calculated to cover up their monumental failure as leaders of the ruling NPP. Because Asenov is a swing seat. As a matter of fact, the member of parliament for Asenov for 2012 was an NDC person. 2016, MPP. In fact, in 2020, when we won the parliamentary seat, the presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, won the presidential elections. President Mahama had a little over 15,000 votes. President Akufo-Addo had over 16,000 votes. You understand? So how can you describe such a seat as an NDC stronghold? Well, I'm happy that Richard is prophesying positively relative to the political coloration of Asenov. We accept Asenov as a stronghold of the NDC, and this is not coming from Sami Jemfi, it's coming from the communications director of the NPP, Richard Ahiagba, who lacks the humility to accept that they have been beaten in a competitive election, not in a stronghold, but in a swing seat, because they had a bad message, they had a bad strategy, they had a bad candidate, they had bad ethics, they had a bad attitude, and so on and so forth. Now, let's come to the second point it makes, which is basically to the effect that we peddled falsehood during the campaign. Evans, you don't have ample time for me to respond to the issues he has raised. But what I can tell you is that everything Richard has told you as a central theme of our message in this Asenov by-election are completely false. But granted that what he's even saying is true, does he really understand what he's saying? What he's saying, or what he's doing, is that he's insulting the intelligence of the good people of Asenov. He's telling the good people of Asenov that they are not discerning. They are not able to decipher truth from falsehood. And that they are so gullible, so unintelligent, that they bought the lies of the NDC, for which reason they vote for James Achikwesi. Come on, Richard. Credit the good people of Asenov with some intelligence and respect. They deserve respect from you guys. The fact that they voted against you, despite all the monies you shared, despite all the vote-buying projects, despite the intimidation, despite the lies and so on, doesn't mean you should insult them. You guys should learn to respect human beings. These are discerning people who know what is good for them. They voted for James Achikwesi in 2020, and they have told you to your face that no amount of judicial manipulation, no amount of intimidation or harassment of their own choice can get them to ditch him for a person who doesn't even vote.
You've repeated the claim of judicial manipulation, something that Richard mentions. Where's the evidence in that? He mentioned your other candidate, MP, Madam Toffee, who, after the trial, was discharged, acquitted and discharged. In Achikwesi's case, this case is only continuing because the state believe there is a case for him to answer. How is that judicial manipulation?
I mean, who followed the Kwesi trial, in the Kwesi case in the Supreme Court, cannot but come to the conclusion that the decision which was rendered by the Supreme Court on the Kwesi matter was totally wrong. In the Jomoro matter, what happened? Was the election annulled or upheld on the basis of legal arguments? No. There was a full trial. Witnesses were called, including expert witnesses, who came to testify to the court about the issue of renunciation when it takes effect, the foreign law of the country in question, Ivory Coast, and so on. For which reason the court arrived at a conclusion that the MP, Honorable Dorcas, did not owe allegiance to any other country aside Ghana at the time of her election. But in the case of Honorable Kwesi, in the Cape Coast High Court, no witnesses were called. No evidence was even taken by the court to establish the issue of his allegiance to Canada. Rather, Wikipedia was strangely cited by the judge in arriving at a conclusion on a matter of foreign law, which is never done, in our jurisprudence. So it is the more reason why I say that what has happened to Honorable Kwesi in the Asenov matter is a glaring case of injustice. And I'm happy that the court of public opinion, I'm happy that the good people of Asenov, in whom sovereignty relies, I am happy that the courts of heaven, presided over by God Almighty, have told our courts that what they have done is unjust, and that Honorable James Achikwesi deserves to be the member of parliament for the good people of Asenov. And I think our brothers in the MPP should stop wasting their time.
And finally, Richard, just a minute there. The fact that the people of Asenov gave him that resounding victory isn't that the surest evidence yet that they disagreed with the way he was treated. You have suggested that they bought into a lie, that they were deceived. Sami argues that is questioning their intelligence. You agree?
Well, you don't expect somebody to say any different. But first of all, let me just correct him briefly. I didn't use the word stronghold. What I said, it was their election to lose. The import was that it was their seat. And I used the word, if they retain their seat, there's nothing novel about it. So somebody can go on that run to misquote me if he wants. Now, you see, we didn't mean any insults for the people of Asenov. What we went to Asenov, our message was simply development. And we went around and showed what we have done in that constituency for the people of Asenov. The other aspect of our message was to try to deflect the obvious blatant lies that the NDC was peddling. And here you, Evans, you concede that people repeated to you and sort of appear to believe that indeed somehow government was orchestrated to remove him, which is not true. And I sometimes worry that in the media, the moderation of our conversation should include checkmating us and say, look, as far as this is concerned, we know that the man had breached the law. Now, whether or not you agree with the court, this is what happened, so that you keep the political parties on.
He breached one law.
It is a blatant falsehood for anybody to suggest that a new patriotic party or this government was after GT question for any purpose.
Yeah,
Let
Richard.
me just conclude with the idea that the government wants JT question so we can pass LGBTQ.
Yeah,
it's not true. It's ruling.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. And I'm pretty sure that this James Atuquesne matter will ramble on, and we're expecting his swearing in possibly tomorrow. He just been listed there to Sammy James, National Communications Officer of the NDC, and his counterpart in the NPP, the Communications Director of the governing New Patriotic Party as well. Still ahead here on News Night.
I want to reassure all of you that my government will continue to work towards keeping the lights on. We are not going back to doomsday. We'll leave that to President Mahama. Despite our challenges and with God on our side, I have the firm belief that we shall succeed.
Tonight, the promise President Akufo-Addo has to keep in the face of threats from IPPs to shut down all 9 plants starting 1st July unless 30% of debt owed them hits the account in less than 24 hours.
What we expect to see is an alert on our account. So we cannot let that engagement distract us.
We'll hear from an energy expert who is confident government will avert the looming power crisis and asks the IPPs to soften its stance considering the current economic situation the country faces.
It's based on what the president said a couple of weeks ago that I'm sure they will find a solution to this. Without the IPPs, we don't have enough on our own. I mean, I don't know where they're going to find $500 million. It's almost like saying that give us everything that we got from IMF before we continue to give you power.
Also tonight,
what we want to see is that a level of commitment must come up before we go to work. Starting will not urge us to go to work. We need to see a maximum work done on the road before we go to work.
Initial position not to back down reversed. Tanker Drivers Union officially suspend its strike after a second round of negotiations commits roads and transport ministers to fix depot roads within 3 weeks, among other conditions.
After meeting with the two ministers, Road and Highways and Transport, and in the further consultation with our members, the union has decided to suspend strike by midnight today.
Also, Works and Housing Minister insists government has a comprehensive plan to deal with flooding in Accra in spite of the reality on the ground.
The government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has been implementing a comprehensive flood control and management program.
We'll also take you to a Odoko Waterworks for our Flat of Trauma series, where residents say they always dread the wet season like a killer virus.
The NPP is complacent here because they believe even if they make a dog contest the seat, it will win. So they are not motivated to initiate any developments for us.
And in business, banking consultant Nanotu Echampo hopeful suspension of banking licenses of Fidelity Bank and First National Bank will send a strong signal to market operators.
And in sports, Ghana's under-23 head coach sure of semi-final qualification ahead of crucial game against Guinea in the AFCON under-23 tournament.
Thank you very much. And indeed, there's a lot to chew on tonight on News. Now, you want to join us with your thoughts as well, 055-1111-997. My name is Evans Menson. I'm here with MFR Power. MFR, let's start with the story just coming through in the last few minutes. The Attorney General, the Ghana Revenue Authority, and the Speaker of Parliament have been dragged to the Supreme Court over the imposition of taxes on imported sanitary pads. Well, Legal Affairs correspondent Joseph Akable is still with us because he's supposed to also talk to us about the court case involving the minority leader, amongst others. But let's talk about this particular suit that's just coming in play. What are the details?
And so it's a case that has been filed by James Kofi Afedo. He's a legal practitioner. And again, his foundation, James Afedo Foundation, is also named as a plaintiff in this particular action. And the point he's making here in terms of the individuals he's filed a case against is the Attorney General, the Commissioner General, Ghana Revenue Authority, and the Speaker of Parliament. And he makes the point that he's asking the court for a declaration that upon a true and proper interpretation of the provisions of Articles 17, 17.2, 17.3, 24 and 25 and 33.5 of the Constitution of Ghana. These provisions deal with the fact that all persons are equal before the law. It deals with the fact that persons will not be discriminated against, and again makes the point that people have economic rights, as well as the fact that where a person's rights are breached, the person can take legal action. And so he says the fact that the Excise Duty Amendments Act, that is 2015 Act 903, imposes a 20% excise duty on menstrual hygiene products, including sanitary pads, sanitary towels, menstrual cups, and tampons, is unconstitutional, null and void, and same being inconsistent with any contravention of the Constitution. And so, in terms of, he proceeds to ask for various other declarations as well, but in terms of the substantive conclusion that he's asking the court he's asking the court to issue an order directed at the first and second defendants to refund all excise duties and value-added tax collected from the date of the enforcement of both taxes to the date of this court's judgment to be paid into a menstrual justice trust fund to be established and managed by the Menstrual Health Coalition, the process of which shall be used to procure and distribute menstrual hygiene products to all girls in all junior and senior high schools under the supervision of the Parents Facilitators Association of Ghana across all regions of the country. He's also asking for an order directed at the first and second defendants to pay interest on the said refund sum at the commercial bank lending rate from the date of effectiveness of the taxes until the date of final payment. He's also asking for an order of injunction to restrain the defendants from further collecting the 20% excise duty and 17% value-added tax on menstrual hygiene products until the final determination of this suit, and an order of prohibition perpetually preventing the defendants from ever proposing, discussing, considering, and imposing any sexually discriminatory taxes on menstrual hygiene-related products, and another of the plaintiff's legal fees and cost of the instant enforcement action. So that is the case that James Afedo has taken to the Supreme Court in his capacity as a private citizen. We know he's a legal practitioner. We know that MFA quite recently, the issues surrounding menstrual hygiene attacks that have been posed have been topical. And interestingly, the Speaker of Parliament, who is named as a defendant, we know that he has publicly expressed concern that it was very wrong for Parliament to have imposed such a tax on such products. And so this will be an interesting one to look forward to.
Of course, but we also know that the AGI, for instance, had raised concerns about how the implications of this particular taxes, if it is removed. I mean, we've heard a lot of groups also go on demonstration, petition the Speaker. And like you said, the Speaker had described this as unconscionable for us to be imposing taxes on sanitary pads, amongst others. So we'll be looking out for this particular case and what the Supreme Court has to say about this particular suit. We'll be looking out for it. But stay with us, Joseph. There are lots of happenings in court.
And indeed, Joseph, today the case in which the minority leader has been prosecuted also came up in court today, and we're learning that the former boss of the GNPC, the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, Alex Mode, had been testifying today and had told the Accra High Court he has so far not seen any document showing that the minority leader, Dr. Ato Arthur, was authorized to write two controversial letters forming the basis of the state's case against the politician. But also, Joseph, he also, whilst was testifying, defended Ato Arthur and insisted that as a deputy minister, he was simply performing functions on behalf of the substantive minister, and that Dr. Arthur, as a deputy finance minister, then cannot really be blamed for the loss that the state is arguing for. What was the position of the AG to this?
The AG strongly disagreed with this view, and Evans, those two letters, in fact, are essentially why Dr. Ato Arthur is standing trial. The first letter was written to the Bank of Ghana, asking that the Bank of Ghana establishes letters of credit in favor of Big C Trading Company. Big C Trading Company is the company that was started to supply the ambulances to the state. The other was to the Controller and Accountant General, authorizing the release of more than 800,000 cedis to the Minister for Health to enable him pay the bank charges covering the establishment of the letters of credit. Now, the Attorney General contends that the actions of Dr. Forson were contrary to the terms of the agreement governing the ambulance, in that payment was not a form of an advance payment, was prohibited, and that they were supposed to be inspection before even payments were made. And so Mr. Mode came in today as the witness for Dr. Forson, and during his testimony, he told the court that deputy ministers tend to write letters on behalf of their ministers. In fact, let me quote what he said. He says, "I therefore find it odd that Dr. Forson, who is in his capacity as deputy minister, assisted a minister who wielded neither constitutional nor statutory powers, could be held responsible for none of the persons in copy, including minister, have denied what he signed." He goes on to say that based on the above and in light of his experience, it was his candid view that it is malicious for the Republic to allege that A1 authorized letters of credit, out of which payment of 2 million euros were made to Big C without due course and authorization. But the AG at this point then came in with his questions. So the first question he asked him was that, he asked him, and I read, "You realize that after the first accused signed Exhibit A, he proceeded to sign Exhibit B2 dated 12 August, addressed to the Controller and Accountant General." Mr. Moe responded, "Yes, he did." Now the AG says, "Now you see that the first accused referred to his own earlier letter. Is that not correct?" Then Mr. Moe answered, "Yes, he referred to the Ministry of Finance letter." Then the AG asked again, "Do you see any attachments?" He responded, "No." Then the AG asked the key question here, that, "Did you come by any information or documents showing authorization by the minister?" Then the answer Mr. Moe gave was, "No, my lady, not in this instance." And so the AG holds the view that, as far as they are concerned, this was a letter that was written by Dr. Forson, and as far as the evidence they have available points them to is the fact that there was no such authorization.
I see, Joseph. Thank you very much. So, listening to News 90 on Joy 99.7 FM. After this quick break, countdown to Dumso. In the next few hours, the IPPs are threatening to shut down power plants across the country. We'll hear from the president, who is insisting it won't happen. And I will tell you what our sources at the ECG and at the Energy Ministry have also been telling us, as the IPPs insist they will, unless some miracle happens in the next few hours. Stay with us.
You get up to 20% of your money back before. Like I tell you about Vodafone's demo promo. See, anytime you recharge a demo, you get up to 20%, whether it be short code or your Vodafone cash wallet, or you don't use credit transfer to your number or someone else. And now you be high tech, so you don't use my Vodafone app or any payment app. However you do, Vodafone go send you up to 20% cash back into your Vodafone cash account. We'll reload it, but then you enter. Top up your airtime with 5 Ghana cedi or more in Vodafone's demo promo and receive 20% of your money back straight into your Vodafone cash wallet. Recharge and cash out in the Vodafone demo promotion.
Vodafone, further together.
I've got Bell back and I won't let go.
My name is Nana McBrown. Many people think I get what I want anytime because I am popular. No, that is not true. It is because me and Kasano, I like the best, and when I find it, I stick to it. I have found Bell Pack Tea Roll, and I'm stuck with it. It is soft but not weak, strong but not hard. It is just perfect. Bell Pack Tea Roll is smooth and gentle on the skin. Same as Bell Pack Kitchen Towel. It cleans in one wipe. You can soak, squeeze, and clean again. One Bell Pack Kitchen Towel lasts longer and saves you money. It's time you switch to Bell Pack today and experience the perfect paper tissue. Say pocket tissue, table napkins, tea roll, and a kitchen towel. Bell Pack is simply the best. Bell Pack, just perfect.
To be a Bell Pack distributor, call 055-11-44400. Another quality product from Bell Aqua.
Nothing feels so good like Bell Pack.
Wouldn't you prefer an apartment hotel? One that offers the utmost convenience of a boutique hotel while offering the idyllic comfort of your own private home. Oasis Park Residences offers luxury studios, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, both for short and long-term rental at competitive rates. a sky swimming pool, gourmet outdoor restaurant, and a fully equipped gym rest on a breathtaking rooftop with panoramic views of the city. Oasis Park Residences, located at Shiashi Tetekwashi, 10 minutes from the international airport, is the ideal place for all your accommodation needs. Why don't you give us a call on 020-4343-009 or visit our website at oasisparkresidences.com to make your reservations. Oasis Park Residences, more than a home.
In partnership with National Theatre and Joy FM, Roverman Productions present I Like What You Like, an original Ebo White play.
Hey, Kwesi Trumpet, what kind of misfortune follows you so much that when your rich auntie dies in the US, the only thing she leaves you is her ashes? Boy, you won't keep that thing in this household. Put it outside the gate and regard it as wakekeeping. Or you can use it for tea. Your here needs your share.
Well, his auntie named him a sole beneficiary to her estate.
I am his wife. How much is it worth?
Roughly $350 million.
What? Oh, Auntie Frida! Oh, Kwesi, we cannot leave her outside the gate. She will feel cold. Let us keep her on the dresser in the guest room and ensure she gets a befitting burial. Oh,
Shows at the National Theatre on July 7th, 8th, 9th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. Friday at 7 p.m. Saturdays at 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Sundays at 1 p.m., 4 p.m., and 8 p.m. Tickets available on the short code *365 *535# and all the usual outlets. 150 Ghana cedis. Sponsored by Ebony Condoms, Gino, GCB, and M Notify. Roverman Productions. Be the difference.
Welcome back to Newsnight.
I want to reassure all of you that my government will continue to work towards keeping the lights on, in spite of the global dynamics of energy pricing, because the alternative is not an option. We are not going back to doomsday. We'll leave that to President Mahama. I'm convinced and confident that our nation is on the right path. Despite our challenges and with God on our side, I have the firm belief that we shall succeed in this enterprise.
That is a promise President Akufo-Addo and his government are currently working towards keeping, as the independent power producers IPPs threaten to shut down all 9 power plants unless 30% of the $1.73 billion owed them hits the account in less than 24 hours. So even though the Electricity Company of Ghana, which has been leading behind-the-scene talks with the IPPs, is confident that the lights will not go off, Joy News is learning that the chamber has sent a memo to all members to prepare to shut down their plants on July 1, 2023 if the debt owed them are not paid by the government. Let me bring in a member of our energy desk, Fred Smith. He joins us via Zoom with details of that communication between the chamber and its members. Fred, what exactly are we learning?
Well, it's a one-sentence directive issued to the IPPs, all the 9 IPPs, and it says that each IPP must nominate nothing, into bracket, 0 nominations, and not declare an availability to the system operator. In this case, this will be a GridCo, beginning July 1 to July 8, 2023. And that's all the directive that they have. But the information that we've picked up from the individual IPPs indicates that they are ready to shut the power to GridCo on Saturday, unless they receive payment for what government owes.
And this memo was sent to the members when? Do we know?
It's just 4 days ago. That's when it was sent. But the discussions with the IPPs we did today indicated that they are ready for Saturday unless some intervention is made between today and tomorrow.
And you've been checking with the independent power producers. At least we've been speaking to leadership, but you've been working your sources within the individual members. What's the indication you're getting?
Well, they fully support the action by the chamber, and they say they will cut power. They are ready to cut power if government doesn't make the payment. And in this case, they want to see the money reflect in the account before they can confirm that that payment has been made. Remember, they are demanding 30% of the $1.7 billion that government owes them. And they're saying that unless that $510 million is paid, they will go ahead and shut power.
Well, thank you so much. That's Fred Smith, a member of our energy desk, giving us details of that interaction between the IPPs and its members.
Now, the key problem with this is, what would this mean if the IPP shut down? Can, say, Akosombo carry us through and the other power generating plants that are not under IPP's control. Let's bring in Kofi J with our research desk into the conversation. Kofi, you've been studying the numbers. What is the installed capacity?
Looking at data from the Energy Ministry's website, and if you look at the installed capacity of all IPPs, around 4,132 megawatts. And of this 4,000 installed capacity, hydro component is around 38%, thermal component is 61%, and we have solar component less than 1%. Now, this is why this is so crucial. Now, if you do some comparative analysis per data given by Gridco and ECG in 2021, if you compare IPPs, their installed capacity to our total installed capacity is about 75.4%. If you compare it to the dependable capacity, it's around 83.1%. And so if you look at this, you could see that if they decide to shut down power, it will actually, cause some sort of upset.
Cripple our ability to put the lights on. By the way, as we've been talking, the IPPs have made it absolutely clear government should pay them 30% of the debt that they are owed, or there will be no other choice than to shut down the plants on Saturday. Listen to the president of the IPP's chamber, Elikplim Apetogbo.
We have not received any offer from the government, or we have not received any offer, or we have not seen any action from ECG as well. So we are constrained. We cannot continue our operation.
We know that individually you were supposed to meet government through the finance minister at least by yesterday. Has that meeting happened? What came out of it?
That engagement is actually going on, but we are focused. What we expect to see is an alert on our account. So we cannot let that engagement distract us. We are focused. What we are expecting is an alert on our account, actually.
So that's Elikplim Apetogbo there, but the executive director of the Kumasi Institute of Technology and Environment, KITE, he's also a commissioner of the PURC, Ishmael Ejekumhene, wants the IPPs to be measured in their demand. He's been speaking to Samuel Kojo-Brace on the Pulse.
It's based on what the president said a couple of weeks ago that I'm sure they will find a solution to this. I've already told you that without the IPPs, we don't have enough on our own. BRA's assets will not be enough to meet our demand, so we need them. So if they shut off their plants, it means that we're going back to Dumso. And what was Dumso? Dumso was as a result of lack of generation, okay? We didn't have enough to meet our demand. So if somebody says that I've shut my plans down because you owe me and the lights go up, it's also Dumso in disguise. So I just want to believe that a solution will be found. I'm quite optimistic and I hope a solution will be found. I believe the ESLA money is very well accounted for. And you see, the energy sector is one area that the bank and the IMF are quite interested in that sector. I believe it's clear that we were misusing the ESLA funds. I'm not sure they would have gotten away with it because they know that one of our problems is the energy sector. So I think the ESLA money, we can trace how much has been received and how the money has been utilized. So maybe let's leave ESLA out and let's figure out how we're going to find the money to be able to sort them out. But I also would like to plead with the IPPs. I mean, I don't know where they're going to find $500 million within, if they have it. I believe, $500 million is a lot of money.
It's close to the 600 million we got from the IMF recently.
Exactly. It's almost like saying that give us everything that we got from IMF and before we continue to give you power. I think that there's been a long relationship, and I believe that they should be able to tell them.
But the thing is that they also need liquid to stay afloat. They are in business. If without the liquid, they cannot continue producing, and that's why it's important that government pays for whatever it takes.
Oh, please don't misunderstand me. I mean, they've even tried by not demanding 100% and say they need 30%. Okay, because that's what they're entitled to. They've actually produced, you have received the invoices, it's been okay that you owe me that much. I mean, elsewhere, if proper business practices, they will turn off the plot. But really, when you have a country that is just coming out from an IMF program or just gotten an IMF program, where even the we are unable to even pay bondholders their money. We must be in some crisis, okay? So I think they may probably have to use that as a basis, but I mean, that's entirely their decision.
Okay.
But I'm happy they are talking, okay? Because last week they told us that they hadn't had any meeting with the government, but now that they are talking, I believe something positive will come out of it.
Well, the minority, they've been reacting to this all throughout since this was first announced by the IPPs. They are insisting that there will be no hesitation on their part to hold the finance minister before Parliament if government fails to secure a deal with the IPPs. Listen to John Jinapo, who is a ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee in Parliament.
Yeah, the first point will be to call on the finance minister to attend before the committee. Following that, if there is a need to escalate it to the level of parliamentary leadership with the speaker, that means that the finance minister may be summoned to the floor of parliament. But from where we operate, it's obvious that something urgent ought to be done. We are in a very, very difficult, very precarious situation. And if nothing is done as a matter of urgency, we would face some massive blackout that we've never witnessed before.
And MFA, you've been working your sources at the ECG. They've been leading these negotiations. What are they telling you?
So they insist, our highly placed sources within ECG, the Energy Ministry and within government insist that the looming power crisis will be averted. The lights that we enjoy currently will stay on come July 1, 2023. We know that a number of meetings are still ongoing between government, the ECG and the IPPs. It remains to be seen what happens at the end of June 30, which is less than 24 hours away. We'll see how it goes. Whether come 1st July 2023, the 9 generation plants will be shut down or it will remain. Let's see how it goes.
Indeed. And you're still live here on News 9 on Joy 99.7 FM and to our Floods of Trauma series now. And the government says it has a comprehensive plan to deal with flooding in the country. Several parts of the country experienced flash floods after the rains, destroying properties. And on occasions, humans have also lost their lives. Speaking in Parliament, Minister for Works and Housing, Francis Asensobwache, says this government has made the most substantial investment to deal with the flooding situation in this country's history.
The government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has been implementing a comprehensive flood control and management program with the following components. 1. Construction of drainage channels and desilting under the National Flood Control Program. Regular monitoring of flood-prone areas to assess our preparedness and educate the public via multiple media channels on flood prevention practices. Collaboration with other ministries, namely local government, decentralization and rural development, and national security to prevent development in waterways and drainage reservations. Speaker, in line with our dedication to building resilient communities and decreasing the occurrence of flooding, government embarked on the National Flood Control Program in the year 2018 and 2020. The aim has been to allocate resources towards enhancing flood resilience of our vulnerable communities. Since 2018, the government has committed 450 million Ghana cedis to this program, making it the most substantial investment from Ghanaian government funding sources dedicated to addressing flooding. It became more evident that human activities are severely impeding government's effort to tackle the issue of flooding. The observations include filling of lagoons and wetlands with construction materials for development purposes, building on drainage channels, hence blocking the free flow of storm water, dumping of solid waste in drains, thereby reducing their capacity to hold storm water.
Well, that's a minister there talking about all the interventions. But as we've been finding out in our series, a lot of places, not only in Accra but across the country, experience this every year. And people, they are living with the trauma of the floods. In today's edition of the Jordy's Floods of Trauma, my colleague Pakwesi Shandop takes us to Odoko Waterworks, where residents say they dread the rains due to its devastating effects on them. They therefore want government to speedily address the drainage systems, and for them, that's a key issue there.
These are not haunted houses, neither are they buildings in rural communities. For the records, they are homes at Odoko, an area in the Blakemore North constituency in the capital, Accra. But over the years, due to the persistent floods, these structures have lost their glow, with their heights ebbing into the ground. In June and July, roughly 30 homes basically sit in water. Residents therefore find it difficult to even access their rooms, forcing some of them to abandon their rooms and only return when the rainy season ends. Ahaka observed over the years that lack of rapid development in the area and virtually no drainage system forces running water into their homes.
Those of us here at Waterworks are going through a lot. It's hell for us whenever it rains, with worms and fecal matter entering our very homes. All we need is an effective drainage system to resolve the crisis.
Naja Saki and Juliana Ankra recount that they always dread torrential rain. They believe good drains will help solve the problem.
It's a terrible situation when it rains here. Our rooms flood with our gutters getting severely choked. So we plead with the authorities to rush to our aid. The NPP is complacent here because they believe even if they make a dog contest the seat, it will win. So they are not motivated to initiate any development for us.
But the Member of Parliament for the area, Sheila Battels, shared a completely different take on the matter.
All we will do is to encourage the residents of Blakemore North, please don't put rubbish in the drains, because we can't keep desilting, almost every other month. But so far, I would say that, together with the Assembly, a lot of work has been done, which will ensure that this year we don't experience flooding in Blakemore North.
But for the residents, help is all they need. But how soon will they find the needed assistance? Until then, when the clouds gather, residents will remain traumatized. Pakwesi Shandov, Joy News, Odoko, Waterworks.
From Odoko, I'll take you to the western region, and all 14 districts have been affected by flooding. We are told that over 2,000 individuals have been affected, displaced. And the director of NADMO in the region, Abdul Ghaniu, says the victims have been camped in classrooms and churches while they wait for the water to recede.
There's been a lot of flooding in the region, including a tourist site like Nzilezu in the Jamoro municipality. Nzilezu, the affected people at Nzilezu are 400, but across the region is more than 2,000. Yeah, the situation right now is that we have found high haven for those who have been affected. Some of them are in the school building, others are in cocoon shed, others are in church buildings. Then we have gotten some few relief items. Yes, we have spoken to, the general public, including the MMDCs, to also support from their catchment areas. And then we are speaking to other companies as well. We have written to NADMO headquarters in Accra, expecting some relief items from them. The case of NADMO did a lot of work before this rain set in, because one of the major things that happened was that if you consider the flood-prone areas, many of them were not affected because we did a lot of disruption work. So where we expected that when the rain comes, we are going to have issues, we didn't have any. But where we are not expected, that's why I said it has flooded almost all the 14 districts, because the rain within the western region was continuous rain. So no matter what, where there are human errors and indiscipline within developers, part of their areas have been affected. Because you go to areas around Ahanta West, you will see where people are building they have built a concrete bridge
in a river called Wind River. If you build a concrete bridge in a river just to give you access to your land, what will happen? Then the authorities who are supposed to know better haven't done their work properly. They haven't gone grounds to check whether they were given permit or not. Nobody can tell now. You definitely be affected. So these are some of the human errors that we are seeing.
And by the way, you can reach us on WhatsApp 055-1111-997. Tell us about your own past experiences and current ones indeed with floods. And we may just be in your community telling your own story as part of our Floods of Trauma series. Still ahead later, we'll hear from wife of the late Vice President, Mr. Arthur, who says the current economic crisis vindicates her husband, plus why he decided not to answer the 170 questions posed by Dr. Mahmoud Baumia.
So sometimes it's best to keep quiet. The 170 questions my husband was given to answer, he said he won't answer because being a vice president, ruling a country was not theory. Hasn't history proven us that my husband was right?
You want to stay for that. You also want to stay for business because Beverly is here with the latest. Hello, Bev.
Hi, Evans. Welcome to the Business News on Newsnight, brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Ghana Pay and Alliance Live. Coming up tonight, banking consultant Nanotu Champon hopeful suspension of foreign exchange licenses of Fidelity Bank and First National Bank will send a strong signal to market operators. Also, Institute for Energy Security advises businesses to prepare for load shedding due to threats by independent power producers to cut electricity supply. We have details after this break.
Isn't life wonderful when everything worth doing is scheduled? Hitting the stop button on your alarm just in time for your morning jog. That happy moment listening to your baby's heartbeat at the doctor's office. Or an arranged virtual meeting with that big client.
Buy airtime ahead of time with scheduled airtime service on MTN Momo. You can schedule your airtime purchase of any amount daily, weekly, or monthly by dialing *170# option 3 and follow the process. Or simply dial *170*311# for a superb airtime purchase experience. You enjoy 100% bonus airtime anytime you recharge yourself with MTN Momo. Keep on talking with that 100% feeling. So, what are we doing today?
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302-764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website, www.kingdomgh.com.
Media Sambisanda mo. Eti emrantia no. Mumu hwan pa na tumi hwe na mo bodompe mu ma na yakono.
Eye kwabna.
Na mumu hwan so na tumi twasmale ma yɛ nyina de.
Eye kojo.
Enu kro. Kobre tumi hwe na bodompe mu sense o yusu president eba. Aye den aban ne do braye. Bo si echi na mo ho ban na sem ma na hoɔde ne.
Sa.
Ani na kudwo nso yusu president chako. Na enu ne de e ma wo se wo ye kregen fita. Na watimi asiri bedwo ma na feel you.
Eye kojo.
Yeah. Pepsodent Eba and a Pepsodent Charcoal. Afedie.
Your corner natural.
FDIJ Jadion Katuyatu.
Do you know Flamingo Paint has superior properties than any other paint brand on the market? Listen, when you take 1 bucket of Flamingo Paint, is equal to several buckets of any paint brand on the market. So, Flamingo has superior hiding properties, superior coverage, it means it covers, and superior durability. Flamingo paint, superior hiding. Flamingo paint, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, superior durability. Flamingo paint, simply superior. No matter your water needs, Syntex has it all. Syntex tank was first to introduce double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex tank was first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and now introduces the customer specs order, which will let you order any color and size you want. Syntex tanks gives you the biggest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you. So whatever your water consumption, size of project, or demand, choose Syntex tank. Syntex tank, stress-free. Syntex tank, reliable. Syntex tank, maximum guarantee. Call 0244 335 168, Kumasi 0505 555 666, or visit syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, a strong, a tough.
Have you noticed that Ghana has suffered lack of attendance at stadia across the country in recent years? Well, the Multimedia Group wants to be part of the solution, which is why we're calling on you, our dear listener, to help us. Our sister station, Inshira FM in Kumasi, has been on a nationwide campaign to identify factors influencing poor patronage of Ghana Premier League matches. This campaign has been widely discussed on traditional and social media since the beginning of the year. And after widespread stakeholder engagement, we have a list of questions in a survey that will help us come out with a communique based on science and data, and we need you to assist by completing this survey. The link to the survey is bit.ly/PhilGPL questionnaire. Once again, bit.ly/PhilGPL questionnaire. Please help Inshira FM and the Multimedia Group complete the survey in order to have a scientific response to this national problem.
Thanks for staying with us. Now to our stories. And the Institute of Energy Security has advised businesses to start planning for load shedding as the Electricity Company of Ghana prepares a timetable as a result of power cuts threat by the independent power producers. The IPP say they will cut power to the national grid if government fails to pay 30% of the about 2 billion cedis debt owed them by Saturday. Speaking to Joy Business on the development, Executive Director of the IES, Nana Mwisi VII, advised businesses to prepare for load shedding.
Outages are not alien to businesses in Ghana. It happens once in a while, and most of them are backups when they come to power generation. We expect them to get that backup ready, and also to ensure that their generators are filled to the brim in terms of fuel. So get ready your standby generators filled, and so you can rely on that. Also, you can also plan your processing arrangements if you're a factory, so to make sure that you follow the load shedding timetable if ECG is forced to put at one.
You heard the Executive Director of the IES, Nana Mwisi VII. Now, away from that, banking consultant Nanotue Champon has indicated that the Bank of Ghana's decision to suspend the forex licenses of Fidelity Bank and First National Bank will have far-reaching implications on the two banks. The two banks were suspended for failing to strictly adhere to the applicable forex market regulations and guidelines. Speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Champon said the punishment will send a strong signal to market players not to breach Bank of Ghana's guidelines.
But they assume, as I said, that, for instance, you are supposed to update your file every 30 minutes. And their understanding was that the update should happen if there is a change. Because every 30 minutes, you have to update. And as I said, if the exchange rate is 10 to 1 at 12 noon, at 12:30, if it's still 10 to 1, you need to change according to the rules. The punishment, in my opinion, is far-reaching. So they have to get partner banks to operate those, because it means they cannot operate those forex issues. Everything has got to be done by another licensed bank.
Consultant Nana Otue Champon there. Now, some Ghanaian exporters are lamenting the unfavorable conditions associated with trading activities in the country. According to the exporters, poor service delivery along the value chain have affected their operations, causing them to lose huge sums of money. They spoke to Joy Business at the Exporters Forum organized by the Ghana Shippers Authority.
The shipping lines, they stay too much. Assuming they say they take maybe 1 month to America, it takes maybe 6 weeks. And before it goes, everything goes bad. And because of high perishable, no insurance will take up our this thing. If you want to take insurance, they say no because of the high perishable.
I lost $31,000 about 8 years ago just because my goods delayed. This is an exhibition that I'm attending in someone's country. I have to, if I miss the deadline, I have to put my goods in a container, in a storage facility. In US, by that time, I was paying $700 a month. And you can imagine waiting for another exhibition, paying $700. By the time you realize those goods, you have to auction it. My goods were auctioned.
Meanwhile, Head of Freights and Logistics at the Ghana Shippers Authority, Fred Isiedu Date, has pledged that the government will step up education on the range of trade agreements accessible to exporters. Now to agriculture, and a Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture, Yao Frimpong Ado, has announced that government will launch Phase 2 of the Planting for Food and Jobs program next week. The Planting for Food and Jobs program was implemented in 2017 to modernize the agri sector, improve food security, create jobs and reduce poverty. In May 2023, subsidy on fertilizer and seeds under the program was suspended. The minister hinted that the second phase of the program will focus on upscaling production of 11 crops and livestock as input credit.
Let me emphasize that this project also coincided with government's flagship program, the Planting for Food and Jobs, which had in focus agriculture development as the indispensable engine for growth and development of the entire country. The ministry looks forward to the development of a Phase 2 of this project with lessons learned from the Phase 1 to form the basis and each partner is playing its role to ensure the full attainment of the project objectives. And I wish to add that in the coming week or so, we are going to officially launch the PFJ Phase 2. The PFJ Chapter 2, as it has been christened, is going to ensure that we accelerate production of our 11 selected crops and poultry.
Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture, Yao Frimpong Ado, ending business news on Newsnight, brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Ghana Pay and Alliance Live. MFR, over to you.
Thank you very much, Beverly. Enjoy the rest of the evening. We'll catch you on TV shortly. Let's do sports with your co-hosts on the Joy News Prime. Well, what do we have, Musbel?
Well, MFR, we have some news coming in from the under-23, Ghana's under-23 side, Black Meteors. As the head coach of the side, Ibrahim Tanko, he has vowed to do everything in his power to ensure that the Black Meteors defeat Guinea on Friday at the Ibn Battuta Stadium in Tangier in the last group game at the ongoing under-23 Cup of Nations. Now, Guinea sits second in Group A, level on the same point as Ghana, and need just a draw to advance into the next stage. And after the team's final training session at the Prince Moulay Abdallah Stadium on Wednesday, Tanko addressed the media and indicated that while acknowledging the unpredictability of football, he remained confident in Ghana's capacity to end the 3-point and advance to the semi-finals.
Honestly, me and Mama, even yesterday after match, the only thing I can show them is say, Obiam Pajanity, Obiam Fanity to form your one chance to play, to win and then qualify. And as I wish from even training and the way I move compared to the way I energy work company. I mean, football, there will be a team, but me 100% sure say we are going to have the 3 points.
That's head coach of the side, Ibrahim Tanko, saying he is 100% sure that the team will qualify to the semi-finals come tomorrow. Well, in the latest FIFA rankings that was released earlier today, the Black Stars have made some very minimal progress by climbing one spot to reach the 59th position. This positive advancement comes as a result of the unbeaten record since Chris Hughton took charge as the head coach. The draw against Madagascar in the AFCON qualifier contributed to earning valuable points and surpassing their previous ranking of 60th. On the African continent, however, Ghana currently stands just outside the top 10, occupying the 11th position. And MFL, let me just leave you with some transfer news. And as Manchester United, we understand they have agreed a deal with Chelsea to buy Mason Mount for £60 million. We understand the deal includes a potential £5 million of add-ons, strongly dependent on appearances and success. United have offered the England international a 5-year contract with an extra year option there. So Mason Mount off to Manchester United.
Million.
The money is enough.
Yeah. D for that big.
The money is too much.
60 million.
Yeah.
It's okay.
For Mason Mount.
Yeah.
I bought him for 15.
That's a Champions League winning player.
How much are you being bought?
Yeah.
How much are you being bought?
I want somebody's poaching me maybe.
60 million.
60 million.
Pounds.
It's okay.
That's it for sports, brought to you by Pepsodent Herbal and Chaco. Pepsodent, every smile matters.
Thank you very much, Musbao. Let's talk about the tanker drivers. We'll take you to Tema now. And they've called off their strike after the government promised to restore its terminal roads within 3 weeks. Well, this is a change from its previous posture of refusing to back down until the roads were repaired. On Monday, the tanker drivers halted deliveries, endangering the businesses of almost 4,000 outlets. The actions compelled Kwesiamu Akwata, Minister of Roads and Highways, and Kweku Foriesiama, Minister of Transport, to meet with them.
Contractor no is on site except say bikafra adwuma no is slow na enko senia mo pese.
There's a contractor on site. The only challenge is that he is slow, but I want to assure you that the road has not been abandoned by government. We will ensure that it is fixed.
So pese munya areshemu say this road has not been abandoned.
We'll meet again and this time invite the contractor so he will tell us when to complete the work. I admit the road is terrible and we will fix it. But on behalf of government and on your own behalf, I plead with you to exercise patience. We will fix it.
However, the minister's earlier request for them to call off the strike were ignored. The drivers were insistent that they would not continue work until the repairs were finished. This is what they said after the meeting.
What we want to see is that a level of commitment must come up before we go to work. Starting will not urge us to go to work. We need to see a maximum work done on the road before we go to work. Aside that, we are not going. We are even helping the government so that there will not be any disaster in this country.
Well, it appears after the intervention by the two ministers, they have decided to make a significant U-turn, agreeing now that they will call off the strike.
Two ministers, Road and Highways and Transport, and in the further consultation with their members, with our members, the union has decided to suspend strike by midnight today, 29th June 2023, based on the following conditions. 1. Though works are currently ongoing on toll road and the contractor will increase his equipment holding on the road and ensure that riding quality is improved within 3 weeks. 2. The access road to the depots in Kumasi, Takoradi, and Bupe are improved. Works on this access road will be commenced by tomorrow, 30th June 2023. 3. A 7-member committee is formed. The Ministry and Road and Highways will give us 3. Then 4 from the union has been set up to monitor proper of projects.
So that's Sunday, Alabi. He leads the Tanker Drivers Association.
Well, let me take you now to 4 communities in the
Oti region.
And they are standing firm, fighting against attempts by government to give out a concession there for the mining of iron ore in the areas. And I'm talking about Santro Kofi, Lolobi, Akpafu, and Bori. Well, joining us, Peter Senu has more in the following report.
4 communities from Santro Kofi, Akpafu, Lolobi, and Bori have declared their intention not to allow government or any entity to mine iron ore deposits in these areas. Their concerns are born from what is currently happening in mining communities in Ghana, where water bodies are heavily polluted with other social and economic negative impacts of mining. For the residents, it is a no to mining from all fronts. The 4 communities have therefore formed an anti-iron ore mining committee to have a common voice to protect their communities and heritage. Emma Amuzu is one of the concerned women. As peasants, she says their livelihood, which is farming, would be jeopardized greatly.
We've seen what is happening in Ghana, especially Ashanti and other areas, the way the mining is destroying a lot of things. So here, the only job our parents do is farming. And then we have these beautiful mountains up here. If we allow them to come and mine here, then they will destroy our land, they will destroy our farming areas. We wouldn't have anything, any place to farm again.
Samuel Tete is a metallurgical engineer and has 20 years mining industry experience and hails from the area. He provided some industry experience but wants government to engage communities so as to win their trust before providing any permits or licenses on mining in these areas.
As a technical person, a lot of stakeholder engagement is needed, where the communities will have to be told the bare truth. Looking at it in context, the benefit to the community in terms of social infrastructure, maybe they will build schools, build roads, build hospitals, but the effect is that the community will be hungry. Their agriculture will be adversely affected.
Nana Olato is the Chidomhini for Santro Kofi traditional area. For him, the destruction of their source of water through the mining activities is his concern. Peter Senu for Joy News.
Well, and Evans, just before we go, we know it's 5 years exactly today since the passing of former Vice President Mr. Arthur, Kwesi Mr. Arthur, and we've been speaking to the wife, Matilda Mr. Arthur, and she says the current economic hardship vindicates the husband. And you remember the 170 questions also posed by now Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
He really didn't answer.
She's been telling us why.
My husband, for 15 years, was Deputy Minister of Finance. For 6 years, was Governor of the Central Bank. For 5 years, was the Vice President. While he did all those jobs, nobody imputed any corrupt thing to his name. And you see, if you are truthful in life and you are honest in life and you do everything to the best of your knowledge, you'll be vindicated. The 170 questions my husband was given to answer, he said he won't answer because being a vice president, ruling a country was not theory. Any hasn't history proving us that my husband was right? You know, sometimes it's best to keep quiet. Sometimes it's best to work and let people see what you are doing, than to stand at the rooftop and shout.
And that's it for News Night tonight.
I am Emefa Apau, and we're bringing you a playback of a conversation with Head of Local Government Services Engineer Dr. Nana Ato Arthur on personality profile with Lexis Bill.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.